Yes, folks, it's Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. Do please like and subscribe. It's down there, folks. You like and subscribe, it helps, you know. Anyway, thanks very much for that. I'm going to talk today about the problems of perversions in prison. Because despite the fact that we lock people up for acts of perversion and paedophilia and all the rest of it, still happens in prison. Despite the fact, that people are locked up for it, when they're in prison, it doesn't mean that they're cured. It just means that they haven't got access to people on the outside, so they've got access to people who are on the inside. Hence, we get things like male rape and the younger inmates being forcibly, shall we say, buggered by other inmates, and not only the inmates into this, members of staff have been known to actually indulge themselves in this perverse practice. I'll tell you a little story here. It's in my first book, by the way, HMP Manchester Prison Officer, which is available on Amazon. Anyway, that's a plug-in. Yeah. It was Wormwood Scrubs, and it was a Saturday morning. It would be about 10 o'clock, and most of the wing on C Wing had gone out, on exercise. And I was patrolling the landing, and on C1 landing, I saw this prisoner in his cell, and he was dressed in a cassock, like they wear for the choirs in church. Now, not allowed to have clothing like that in your cell. It should be kept at the actual church, and you can put it on when you actually go in to do the choiring bit, So I went into the cell, shot the bolt, said to that con, "Why are you wearing that?" He said, "I can't tell you, boss." I said, "Oh, you are about to tell me." I said, "So sit down on the bed and you tell me what the problem is. Why are you wearing that?" Well, he starts crying, this lad. He would be about 23, I think, a young lad. So I said, "Come on then, get it out. What's the problem?" It transpired, and he was very reluctant to tell me this, that he was being required by a member of the prison clergy to actually dress as a choir boy, and on Saturday mornings, whilst all the rest of the wing was on exercise, this particular member of the clergy would come round, and he, dressed as a choir boy, would get down on his hands and knees and fillet the man. That's cocksucking, by the way. That. Not trying it myself, but that's what I believe. Well, that's what it is anyway. So I took the cassock off him, took a statement, went to see the wing principal officer, said, "I've got to report this." He sent me to the chief officer. So I reported it to the chief officer. That's the head of all the disciplinary staff at Wormwood Scrubs. And you'd think, well, he'd say, "Well, it's a serious matter. We have to get the police involved here." No, he didn't do that. He had big hands. He was a big fellow, this guy, and he banged on the desk. Like that. "Who has told you you've got authority to investigate senior members of our staff?" Seriously, like that. I said, "Well, my warrant card says I've got to do it." It says on the warrant card, it did, I don't know if it still does, that when acting as a prison officer, I shall have all the powers of a police constable. In other words, to enforce the law. And coercing and forcing a relatively young man to perform an act of fellatio upon oneself is, I would say, it's probably bordering on criminality. So I handed the statement to the chief officer. I handed him the cassock, from the young man. Gave him my statement as well. And he ordered me out of his office. "Get out of my office." I mean, what kind of a system is that? Basically, he was just covering it up. lots of instances where staff have been interfering with inmates. I was on duty at Strangeways, and this night patrol officer came to me. He said, "John, come with me." He said, "I've got these Borstal boys." It was in the Borstal unit, you know. They got these Borstal boys, they're all wanking, and they're like, "I've got better things to do than watch bloody Borstal boys playing with the Todgers, lad. Grow up." Imagine that. I mean, I suppose if you're a pervert, I mean, what would be a better place to go than get a job patrolling the young offenders wing and the Borstal boys wing? You know, you've got them. Loads of there right for the picking. And of course, certain inmates were bribing the staff to allow them to get hands on young inmates. No names, no pack drill. So that's today's little rant from Tales from the Jails. It's going on in the prisons, and now, of course, we've got the added attraction of, you got it, the Vernon girls, the Beverley sisters, the hostess system. They're all getting it in there, aren't they? Well, I mean, I believe they are. They're not all of them. I mean, a lot of females do join the prison service to do the job. Unfortunately, a lot of them get the job done on them. Anyway, I'm going to read you a poem now, which is appropriate, seeing as this is Tales from the Jails. This is a poem by a man called Richard Lovelace, and it's to Althea from prison. It contains the famous words, "Stone walls do not a prison make." So I will now read it to you from my ancient book of poetry. It's about 55 years old. I've had it since I was a young man. Oh, probably longer than that. Probably had it 60 years. Yeah, here we go. This is To Althea from Prison by Richard Lovelace. When love with unconfirmed wings hovers within my gates, and my divine Althea brings to whisper at the grates, when I lie tangled in her air, and fettered to her eye, the birds that wanton in the air know no such liberty. When flowing cups run swiftly round, with no allaying Thames, our careless hands with roses crowned, our hearts with loyal flames. When shiny grief in wine we weep, when health and draughts go free, fishes that tipple in the deep know no such liberty. When linnet-like confined, I with shriller throat shall sing the sweetness, mercy, majesty, and glories of my King, when I shall voice about how good he is, how great should be. England winds that curl the flood know no such liberty. Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. Minds innocent and quiet take that for an hermitage. If I have freedom in my love, and in my soul am free, angels alone that soar above enjoy such liberty. By Richard Lovelace, To Althea from Prison. Don't forget to get my book, folks. Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton.